John. Nye McGee here with EURweb.com. Thank you for giving me your time to speak about Testament. And while this is different, biblical stories set in the modern age with the Roman
Yeah,
Empire as the backdrop. And of course, both of you are brothers in real life, and you
Yeah.
play the biblical brothers, James and John, two apostles of Jesus. And obviously, they're both key figures in the early church. What was it like stepping into the shoes of these iconic biblical characters in a completely reimagined world like Testament?
that's a great question. Um, I think it was first and foremost it was exciting as someone who's grown up on biblical stories and knowing a lot about the story of the apostles and Jesus and those 3 years they spent together. For me, it was really exciting to dive into that. But I would also say that one thing that I think a lot of us in the group who played the 12. Uh, we focus on the fact they were 12 ordinary, imperfect people. And I think that took a lot of pressure off us as people that we didn't have to portray the sort of perfect people. They're actually very much people from our studies and our research, very much people similar to us, imperfect people who need in that time the help of Jesus. And That's what we could take away from it, which was like we can bring ourselves to it and in ways that, uplift the words from the page, but also stay true to the 12 who were portraying. But yeah, I think the fact that they're 12 ordinary people really helped relieve all sense of pressure. Yeah.
I think putting it in this alternate universe, to be honest with you, again, made it easier. I didn't have to think about how do I take it to a place of sandals and tunics and things like that, and an age way before my own. Actually, to be honest, they just all became people that I could see day to day going through something that is a massive struggle. Um, and we're all going through massive struggles at times, and there's always conflict within us. So you take away the fact that it's a really long time ago. You take away the fact that for a load of different things they might speak slightly Shakespearean. You take away all of that, and they're just actually just normal people, and it makes it so much more relatable to anybody watching. You know?
Now, of course, this show sets the book of Acts in an alternative modern world, right? Ruled by the Imperium, aka the Roman Empire. So
Yeah.
another question for you both. In how did that shift in the setting, right? Influence how you approached your roles and interpreted your characters' motivations?
Great. That is a great question. I think in terms of this set, obviously it's um, an alternate modern world, but then obviously the story's still the same. So, like you said, back in those times, it was the Roman Empire who kind of was the people of power, and was after, trying to get rid of this what we call now the way, but the following of the people who were following Jesus and spreading this message. And I think what was good is that in our version, it's the message is the story's still the same. It's just in a world that's very much maybe closer to what we know in this sort of generation. So the story's kind of very much still the same. But I think how it kind of yeah, how it helped me was just knowing that I'm not changing anything. I'm not changing any of the story. Like I'm literally going back to the root and the context of the Bible, and then from there, I'm using that to push my character forward. So that for me it was quite straightforward in that sense. Um, and also I think, just thinking about spending those 3 years. As someone who's playing a character who spent 3 years with Jesus, you start to see these 12 people who, yes, there's an excitement brewing because the Spirit has now come and they can really go forth and spread this message. But also, there are 12 people grieving because of the actions of the Roman Empire. So there's a balance between showing that excitement and that vigoration to go forth and spread this powerful message. But at the same time, there's also a frustration there that they're missing physically the presence of their friend, of their father, of their brother, you know. So playing with all those things in mind it was the way that I think a lot of us approached playing the apostles.
I think much the same to what Kenneth said. The story's not changed, but with the setting changing, it made you kind of walk different. It made you kind of stand in a different way. It allowed certain things to be a lot heavier when they needed to be. Do you know what I mean? It allowed us to, well, me specifically, it allowed me not to put on some sort of strange voice. I was able to just speak as somebody in today's world telling a very old story in a new way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. John, let me
Yeah,
throw a follow-up question to you. How did I mean, obviously your brother's in real life, right? And hold
yeah.
on, let me look. Are y'all twins? You're not twins, are you?
No, no.
Okay.
I am actually a twin in real life, but he's my older brother.
I
Yeah,
was just about to say, John, you're the older brother. Okay, got it.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
John, let me ask you, how did your real life relationship with Kenneth, right? How did your real
yeah.
life relationship as brothers inform your dynamic as James and John in Testament?
We've been asked this question a couple of times, and to be honest with you, uh, we didn't really. Things are just natural. Like we don't really think about how we're brothers. Um, so no, do you know what I mean? So no,
Yeah.
we never. We were so concentrated on the characters. It informs it because we look similar. It informs it because you're able to ask us if we're twins. That's how it informs it. But in terms of us thinking, oh, we're brothers, we were just being who we were being. And fortunately, also James and John are brothers, so they are just being they're being. And I think that's it. Maybe how it informs it is that we don't have to work on being brothers. We don't have to
Mm.
work on
Yeah,
how our relationship's going to affect each other. We just knew to come into the space and be because
mm.
had been brothers, you know?
And there's just to add to that, there's definitely a level of safety there. Like he said, we didn't
Yeah.
really have to talk much because we just knew that the other person knew what the other person was thinking. He knows me inside out and vice versa. So it was just great in terms of safety, really. But you're right. I think the chemistry comes across on screen just because that's how we are in real life. As in, like we have great chemistry in real life because we spend a lot of our time together. We're family. So,
Yeah.
but we didn't have to. John's right. We didn't have to like plan anything that showed we're brothers. I think the chemistry pops because we didn't have to do that because we are just being the characters, but brothers as well.
I think a few qualities that James has I also have as well. Personally, he has a deep sense of responsibility. And if you I suppose if you spend any time with me, I think Kenneth will tell you like I feel really responsible for my siblings. And now the thing with James is, yes, he feels responsible for John, but because he's been put a task has been given to him, everybody in on this walk trying to follow Christ is his sibling. And actually, because he was one of the first few to follow Christ, and one of the first, one of the like 12 who are following him everywhere, a load of people to him are actually slightly younger siblings. So he is trying to make sure that he's looking after so many people at the same time. So I think he feels heavily when things go right. He feels heavily when things are slightly off. He constantly he wants answers, but he also knows he has to wait at times. But he feels responsible, and I think for me as well, I have a deep sense of responsibility with my siblings, as well as and spiritually, I think he's somebody that's not afraid to admit that sometimes he struggles, and I'm same spiritually. I think I'm a Christian personally, and I'm not afraid to admit that sometimes I struggle and sometimes, it's going great. And I definitely don't have all the answers, but that's why I am a Christian, because I don't have the answers and I'm looking to somebody with all of the answers, you know?
Faith-based media has often lacked diversity in casting, right?
Mhm.
So how does it feel to be part of a series, not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera, that not only reimagines scriptures, but also boldly centers Black actors in pivotal roles?
First and foremost, I'm not someone who's going to hide away and say that it's important to see diversity on screen. Like just simple fact, it is. Um, yeah, I think in terms of we can get into the historical context of everything, and was there, wasn't there, the apologetics of everything. But the truth is, now here and now, if we're saying an alternate modern universe close to our world, it is diverse. There's black, white, all kind Asian, all kinds of people, and that's what's beautiful about our world, and that's what's something that should be celebrated. And it would be ingenuous of us to not celebrate that on screen as as believers, um, and creators and writers and performers. Like there is beauty in diversity, and I think you really see that in this show. But yeah, and also just again, I go back to it. I ain't afraid to say it's important, and I want people to see that, and yeah, I want people to see that, and I want people to celebrate that. And if there's a problem with that, that's on them. That's nothing to do with us. But yeah,
Do you know what? Episode 4, there is a scene between uh um James and well, between myself and uh oh my goodness, I'm forgetting names.
who? That's
Pardon?
Lizzie. Lizzie?
Yes, yes, between myself and Lizzie, who plays Esther. Um, so James and Esther are talking in a cafeteria, and James kind of he goes through something where he remembers everything that Jesus kind of said to him and his mother. Um, and it just it unlocks something for James. Um, and it kind of tells us the journey that we're going on, and it kind of helps us on a journey that we're going on. And I think the reason it was it was like challenging for me as an actor, it was trying to do this like give this moment without giving away my show or giving away the show, um, and without giving away what's going to happen, but really feeling, because obviously you're living in the moment. John is has read the script. James is living in the moment. So truly just being James, not giving away anything. That was a challenging moment for me, in that moment. Yeah.
I think this is always a hard one for me because um yeah, like I obviously helped out a lot behind the scenes as well. So there's some that I'm is favorite as for as an actor in it, and then there's a lot that is special to me from uh um an artist perspective, writing perspective and stuff. So um I would say there was the one of the best things about playing John is he really serves a lot of storylines, a few storylines, especially with like Peter, and what's happening at the warehouse with all the apostles. He's someone who serves a lot of stories. Um, but there was one day that we had a there's an episode there's a mini storyline in episode 5 where there's a kind of an issue between the apostles and Susanna, who is back at the warehouse, kind of like holding the fort while the apostles are out preaching and stuff. And yeah, that episode there was a day that we filmed a scene, and it was written differently. And then that morning, me and Paul and John came together and we kind of changed a few lines, and it's now become a really beautiful scene between me and John that we have. Well, James and John, and Peter is also there as well. And it's a beautiful scene. Just basically, you can really feel the weight of and the toll that like spreading this message is now becoming. Where before this moment, it's all kind of so happy and up in the air, but now it's actually like, oh, this is this is hard, and it's only going to get harder. And it was so much easier when Jesus was here to kind of deal with everything. And I think because of yeah, the scene itself is one that I'm really proud of, and it was quite an emotional one, which was great. But also the last minute change, it felt like a very much a spiritual moment of God being like, actually, let's change this quickly. And then to be able
Yeah.
to come up with what we came up with was really special. And then I'd also say, in terms of episode that I'm excited and really proud of, and I want people to see, I'd probably say, yeah, John, episode 4 tackles the Ananias and Sapphira storyline. I would definitely say everyone should definitely watch that. That's one that I'm proud to just be a part of in terms of seeing how they wrote that episode and how impactful that is. Yeah, that episode, and then episode 7 is one that we all wrote together. But that is probably one of the most proudest things of as a creator that I think I've been a part of in terms of writing. So those 2 episodes for me as well are ones that I'm super excited for the audience to watch for sure. I think we tackle so many themes and storylines, and I genuinely think that like there's something in every episode actually that's for somebody, um, whether it be about yeah faith or love or family, or also struggles like John said. There's really something for everybody that someone can like really grasp onto, and it can change the perspective of their day. I'm also really strong and heavy on the fact that like as someone who's grown up reading the Bible, it's so easy to read stuff blankly on a page and just feel like, oh, okay, it's just words. But when you see something come to life and think that you can take all this and create something like Testament, that makes you also yeah, kind of just grow deeper in your faith. I think that's important, and I think that's also the goal here is to make people go back to the Bible and also yeah read it and see it differently and have a new perspective and hopefully it draws them closer to their faith. That's also something for me. Yeah, but this show is amazing because I really do think it's for everybody, for people of faith especially, but also especially for people who are not of faith, and can take heavy themes and stuff to impact their lives. I think it's huge.